While Uber is now operating as a Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board or LTFRB accredited transport network company or TNC, there are still many legal questions about the operations and practices of TNC. Questions still being asked by the more conventional land transport groups. Our Motoring Forum discusses the latest question brought before the LTFRB over the operation of TNCs. When Uber filed for and got accreditation as a transport network company from the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board or LTFRB, many thought that the many questions over its operations as well as those of similar companies have been resolved. Uber is just one of a number of groups offering app-based transport services. Its popularity with the riding public as a more efficient and safe way to hail rides using mobile phone apps prompted government to create a new category of land-based transport utility, the so-called Transport Network Company or TNC and the Transport Network Vehicle or TNV. This was in spite of protests from the more conventional transport operators, specifically taxi operators, who have steadily lost customers to Uber and other TNCs. Taxi and other transport groups opposed to TNCs and Uber have apparently not given up the fight. Transport Group 1 UTAC has filed a petition with the LTFRB seeking to have Uber's accreditation revoked, cancelled, and set aside. According to a news report, 1 UTAC argues in its petition that the Department of Transportation and Communications order that allows TNCs to operate violates the Constitution. The group particularly cites one provision of the order that allows Uber to set its own fare scheme as both unconstitutional and unfair. Observers have noted that this is just one of the many provisions in the order that is unfair. They cite that the more traditional modes of transport have to pay hefty fees and have to go through very strict processes and comply with various requirements for a provisional authority to operate, while its main petition for franchise and certificate of public convenience is being decided on. In its petition, the group said, and we quote, Uber took advantage of the flood and traffic gridlock last September 8 to dramatically raise rates for Uber rides, literally taking advantage of the plight of those seeking to get a ride. This is unfair as other modes of transportation have to formally petition the LTFRB to adjust their fares. The LTFRB then holds a number of public hearings before it approves any adjustment in fares. End of quote. The group said, and we quote, the order allowing TNCs and TNVs to unilaterally set fares is also unconstitutional because it violates the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution. Unquote. Quoted in a newspaper report, Uber lawyer Denmark Kalimon admitted to a price surge in Uber fees during the massive gridlock and floods referred to by the 1 UTAC petition. But Kalimon said that it was a consequence of the economic principle of supply and demand. He said, and we quote, the problem is what if in a particular area there are no vehicles, there are no drivers, and that's where the price surges, because it is intended to encourage vehicles away from that area to go to that area. Now, it's of course up to them if they want to go to the area because of the surge, Kalimon said. He added that the price surge is system-generated based on the supply and demand. The newspaper report also quoted LTFRB Chairman Winston Hines as saying that the app-based transportation system is a new transportation mechanism and the board has yet to set rules on how TNCs and TNVs would set their fares. Hines has promised to look into and hold hearings into 1 UTAC's petition. The LTFRB should facilitate the resolution of the many questions being raised against Uber and its like. However, it must do so with fairness, protecting the rights of the more traditional transport groups while not hindering innovations that help improve mass transport in the country.